Welcome to the Rise Inside podcast, hosted by Justin Starbird and powered by RISE Robotics. Listen as host Justin talks to experts from the RISE team about topics relating to mechanical engineering, industrial design, commercialization, and innovation. True collaborations work when ideas are integrated at inception to solve significant problems. Rise Inside brings together how the team continues to work with great folks to commercialize ideas. You're listening to the Rise Inside podcast. Here's your host, Justin Starbird.
Welcome back to the Rise Inside podcast. My name is Justin Starbird, where we are continuing our Inside Rise employee spotlight series to get to know the folks behind what is making Rise so special and unique. And today I have Chief Operating Officer Tom Phelps with me. Tom, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Justin.
No, it's exciting. This is a neat role and a new role to Rise. So really happy to have you on board.
Excellent. I'm very happy to be at RISE.
Great. Well, Tom, this is RISE is in a unique space, trying to disrupt a pretty established industry or market. Yeah, when you talk to your friends, your family, you didn't start at RISE and come through the ranks. What do you tell people about RISE?
Maybe I can start why I ended up at RISE and why I'm so excited about being at RISE. So, I'm, a little bit later in my career, going on 29 years. I've worked in various industries from telecommunications, semiconductor test, satellite propulsion, as well as robotics. And really what I was looking for, I was kind of looking at new opportunities, was kind of a revolutionary technology, a technology that has tremendous potential to really change an industry, and a technology that has wide applicability across multiple industries, and also really a committed and brilliant founding team. And I checked all those boxes with RISE. So, I mean, the founding team is incredible in terms of the technology that they've developed. The technology itself, the RISE technology, the RISE cylinder, has the ability to really revolutionize and replace hydraulics and really help a lot of industries achieve their goals of achieving net zero emissions, fully electric vehicles, but doing it with a technology that is highly efficient. And really it allows us to help companies design machines without compromise, achieving their goals, but making the machine more robust, making the machine with advanced technology, achieving net zero emissions, but also improving the lifting capability in certain cases of the equipment. So what I tell folks when I talk about RISE is, RISE at its core is a technology company. It's a enabling technology company where we can partner with the industry leaders in different markets and really redesign their machines and help them really achieve their next generation goals for their equipment. So it's a pretty exciting place to be at. There's a lot of potential. The applicability ranges anywhere from lift gates, with our partnership with Anthony Lift Gates, aircraft material handling equipment with the DoD and commercial entities, as well as the ability to really impact a wide range of additional industries, container handlers, scissor lifts, construction equipment. The list just goes on and on in terms of how this technology can be applied. And that's really what I tell my friends and family when I tell them about RISE is, I'm working at this technology startup that has the ability to impact, name an industry, and we probably can have an impact there. It's just an incredible technology.
So going back to the boxes that you checked, I mean, when you were looking at the role, what did you envision your role would be here? And then, what has it kind of led to so far?
Sure. So, the chief operating officer role is probably not the most defined role at most companies. It's really the person that kind of comes in and plugs holes and helps improve processes. And really, the way I look at it is, the COO role really is a strong partner with the founding team, the CEO, to let the CEO focus on things like fundraising and customer partnerships and really growing the company. And the COO role is really focused on the internal operations. How do we make it more efficient? How do we stand up our operations processes, manufacturing partners, so we can meet the growing demand that we're seeing for our product? And I'm only on week 8, so far the role has been pretty aligned with my expectations. But it's a mix of working on operations, supporting program management, helping with the development and structure, and helping a startup grow, and putting all the appropriate processes in place, whether it's facilities related, operations, HR based. So it's a wide range of things, and that's what's exciting about the role is every day is a little bit different. It's a combination of looking ahead and a little bit of firefighting, depending on what's going on that day.
Right. Well, I can't wait to do this interview again at week 80, to see how far you've come, how far RISE has come. I mean, just in the last 2 months, I mean, there's still growth and new business development opportunities coming out. Are you just like, man, this is so cool every day?
I am, and RISE is at a point where there's probably more opportunities than bandwidth. So part of that is like filtering those opportunities and making sure that we can meet and exceed our customer expectations. So that's part of the role too, is order management, making sure that we over deliver to customers and really build the RISE Robotics brand and reputation.
What kind of things prepared you for this? You mentioned several industries that you worked in, and I'm sure that goes along with several roles. But what led you to RISE? What were you doing before you met Blake and Aaron, Tomas, and Kyle?
Sure. So I would say the experience that was most applicable and actually provided the best background and fundamental experience for RISE was, the 15-ish years that I worked in defense robotics, which was a combination of iRobot and then Endeavor Robotics. And in those roles, I had various leadership roles. In some cases, I was responsible for operations, for different programs such as the PackBot robot. And then I also did business development. I did program management, product management, develop product roadmaps, as well as going after programs of record for the DoD and then becoming the program director for those programs once we won them. So the most recent program that I was responsible for at Endeavor Robotics was the MTRS Inc. 2 program, which is a $158 million program that we won to deliver 1,200 robots to the Army, and that has expanded since to the other services. So that's something I'm really proud of, and I think provided a good fundamental background for what I need to do at RISE. Most recently, I was the VP of Engineering and Product at Axion Systems, which is another startup in the Boston area that is building a novel electric propulsion systems for satellites for in-space operations. So that was pretty exciting. I gained a lot of experience there as well. But ultimately wanted to kind of get back to my roots in robotics and dealing with equipment, heavy hardware, and that's where RISE aligned really well with kind of the next step in my career.
Well, working with startups and revolutionizing some different spaces and solving problems to things that most people didn't even know were issues, leads to high levels of stress and a lot of sometimes time away from family. What's it like when you get home? What kind of things do you do to unwind and leave the office at the office?
So it's kind of easy for me to make that transition because I have 3 teenagers. So that keeps me pretty busy. Between school, sports activities, When I do have free time, I like to ski and go hiking and really kind of enjoy the environment in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Um, that's how I make the transition. But this is exciting work. So I wouldn't say this is all work for me. The things I do at RISE are fun, and I think we're helping to develop and really grow a company, and that's really exciting. So sometimes I put in more hours than I should, but that's because I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of that, that vision that the founders shared with you, that you're now a part of, what do you think makes that so important, and why should people be paying attention to what we're doing?
So the founders have been with RISE. I don't know the exact time frame. I want to say 11 years, but I could be wrong there. But it's been quite a while, and the company's gone through different evolutions of what the focus of the core technology was. Mm-hmm. But really, their vision to really grow the company and develop the technology and really have that technology impact multiple markets. They really have a grand vision of how RISE can really help address some of the gaps and help equipment become zero emissions. So you have some electric vehicles that are still using hydraulics. Then you have standard gas-powered vehicles that are still using hydraulics, and there's a lot of potential pollution that can occur from those types of vehicles. You have hydraulic oil that can spill. So that's one aspect of it, the net zero. But they're not just replacing that with something that's the equivalent of hydraulics. They're replacing it with something that has better efficiency, that can really open up the aperture of what can be done with that vehicle over time. So it's not just a direct replacement. It's a replacement with improvements, and also adding on additional capabilities such as health monitoring, things like telemetry and Internet of Things that can be done with the equipment, that can really make the service of the equipment a lot more efficient, and the whole operation of a fleet just so much better, with the use of RISE technology like the RISE cylinder.
At the end of the day, though, it's going to come back to you, right? In creating those systems internally to continue to solve those, monstrosities of problems or, concerns that people have. Some of the systems that you're putting in place or that you're overseeing, aren't, haven't been created before. What is that like, for you each day to kind of think through, really differently, but still adhere to industry standards relative to safety, compliance, and those sorts of things?
It's an interesting challenge, something that I enjoy taking on. We have to be versatile, right? Because each partner that we have in the different industries will have a different model in terms of how they want to partner with us. So it could range from basically us providing the technology and they manufacture it. It could be RISE manufacturing it. So we need to basically have a robust supply chain that can meet the needs of the customers, that can provide the quality, the test validation, the tracking of material that's required to be successful. And we also have the test validation, of the equipment. How many months do we need to put something in service for us to be fully confident in it? It takes a lot of testing. So, all of these things are converging in terms of transitioning a product from a robust prototype into a production product that you can build at a higher scale with high repeatability and high levels of quality. So that's really where we are in the transition stage right now, is making that transition from robust prototypes to working with partners and really defining our supply chain and our test strategy and how we're going to work with partners. But we need to be flexible because each partner will have a different model.
Yeah. I'll get to opportunities in a second, but where do you see obstacles now, or where do you see, areas where there can be improvement, either internally or externally at RISE?
There'll be continued opportunities for improvement around scaling up the operations, getting the maximum value from the supply chain. We're still in kind of low rate production volumes. So as we scale up and we look at how we're procuring equipment, how we're partnering, there'll be opportunities for further cost reductions in the overall structure of the product.
And conversely, do you see opportunities? Where do you see this going?
Sure. So,
Not to put you on the spot or anything, but you've been here 8 weeks, where are you going with all of this, Tom?
So I mean, where I'd like to see things go is that we have a established base of strong manufacturing partners. Now, I'm not saying contract manufacturers; these are manufacturing partners. They'll be doing the activity of a contract manufacturer, but we want to have companies that can grow with us over time. So as our demand increases for our different products, there'll be some commonality between products, and then there'll be unique components for each product variant or product application. We want to have a healthy set of partners that can work with us, be flexible, help us, manage those peaks in demand, and then some of the trials that occur, and help us level those so we can provide predictability to our customers.
Yeah. I gotta imagine that right now everything seems really exciting, and there is a lot to take in on a daily basis. But what are you most excited about with all of this? What is it? The team? Is it the opportunity? Where do you see your most excitement? And jump out of bed and be like, man, I'm going to do this today.
Yeah. So from a company standpoint, I think the most excitement is still we're still in the early stages of partnerships. So it's really excitement is really proving out the technology in the specific applications. RISE has done a tremendous amount of testing on the core technology in the lab, and has tested equipment to millions of components to millions of cycles, if not tens of millions of cycles, and has done simulated applications to hundreds of thousands of cycles. Now it's actually getting it out into the field, testing with our partners and real world applications, and really proving it out. That's where a lot of the near term excitement is. And then kind of behind the scenes from an operations standpoint, we're preparing for, once we achieve those milestones and the customer says, okay, now I want to do 50 trucks, or I want to do 100 trucks, or a few hundred trucks, we need to be ready to say, okay, let's go build it. We have a well-defined process that we can just turn on. So all that work is being done behind the scenes as the product is being validated in the specific applications. And that's what's kind of exciting, getting all of that in place, getting it ready to go so we can turn it on and start, cranking out RISE cylinders.
Yeah. No, hey, I'm with you, man. This is, sitting here, being able to hear your excitement, being able to hear from Kyle and Zoe and Hector and others, as we talk about what each of their roles are comprised of, and then seeing that vision, come together and it turn into orders. I think that's a lot. Everybody's got a little bit of a fingerprint on stuff, and feels really good about what they've done at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of some of the things. I've had this question asked of me in the past when I was in the role of a VP of engineering. How do you motivate engineers? The way engineers are motivated is by seeing the product that they've spent hours developing, testing, validating, tweaking, being used by customers, and being successfully used by customers, and having customers say, I love this product. This is what it's done for me. RISE has that potential, right? And we're moving in that direction. So being able to get product to be validated by the DoD, getting product to be validated by Anthony Liftgates, and working with some of our other partners. That's exciting, right? That's exciting for the engineering team. That's exciting for the entire RISE team to actually see the products being used and to really see the difference that product can make from an operational standpoint for those customers, right? So you're transitioning it from theory to actual real application. And that's really exciting work.
Yeah, absolutely. You say hours, but it's really days, weeks, months, in some cases, years of this validation that you're now overseeing.
That's correct.
Yeah, very cool. Well, Tom, thank you so much for joining me today on this the series on Inside RISE. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Justin, for having me. I always enjoy talking about RISE and the excitement and potential of the company, and the great things that we're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Well, let this be the standing invitation to come back anytime and talk about the different things that you're working on that get you excited. This has been awesome.
Definitely take you up on that offer, Justin.
All right, sounds good. Well, you've been listening to the Inside RISE series on the RISE Inside podcast. I've had Tom Phelps, the Chief Operating Officer for RISE, with me today. To all of you listening, until next time.
You have been listening to the RISE Inside podcast, presented by RISE Robotics. On behalf of our guest today and host Justin Starbird, thank you for listening. Please share your feedback on our LinkedIn page